Thanks for listening to Hustle and Heart. I am your host, Edie Weintraub. Today, we're excited to introduce Jen Mazer, widely known as Queen of Manifestation. Jen is a transformational speaker, coach, and author who has made a name for herself by turning seemingly outrageous dreams into reality. Jen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're all curious with that bio, that introduction. I'm sure our listeners want to hear more. So do expand, please.
Well, my friends actually gave me the nickname Queen of Manifestation years ago because every time we got together, I had another outrageous story of something that I manifested. And I think the reason they named me Queen of Manifestation was I lived rent-free in Manhattan in my own apartment for over 10 years. I renovated it with my jacuzzi bathtub and my new kitchen. And we had a theater downstairs. We used to have concerts and plays there. And every Christmas time, Wynton Marsalis would play a jazz show for us. And one year in 2003, we recorded that live concert, put out an album with Blue Note Records, and it was nominated for a Grammy in 2004. So, so many stories. I, had my art in the New York Times, manifested becoming friends with, my favorite people. And my soulmate, who's also a successful rock star and now Grammy nominated, and gave birth to both my kids the same day at home, 9 years apart. And just so many magical stories. And now I help people manifest their biggest dreams. And I've been doing that for 12 years and have a book out, Manifesting Made Easy, and so much more. I love working with entrepreneurs. So I'm excited to talk to your audience today. So yeah, ask away. I'm happy to share more.
With such accomplishments to date, I'm super curious to know what remains on your bucket list.
Oh gosh, I feel like with every person, when you manifest what you thought was your biggest dream, there's always a new one, right? It never stops. And that's the beauty of being here in this physical body, is there's always going to be something else. We get to create our most outrageous lives. I feel like our lives are our masterpieces. So my next project is a project with my love that we are starting in Atlanta, actually, a new venture. And I will share more when that is public, but it's very, very exciting. So you will definitely know about it when it opens.
And we'd love to have you back on to share the exciting news. And I'm so glad to see you planting roots here in Atlanta. So why Atlanta? Given your travels globally, what brought you to the city?
So I was living in New York for over 20 years, and during the pandemic, we had a COVID baby, as many people did. Surprise, 9 years after our first. And we have a lot of family in Atlanta. None of us are from here, family included, but so many relatives from both of our families live in Atlanta. And so it just seemed like the obvious place to put down roots and have a big property and tons of amazing space and organic garden and a pool and, get to know this awesome community here. So it's been fun.
Really happy you're here. I can't take credit because I also am a transplant from New Jersey, but home for 26 years. I think I tell people I'm an onion, right? Because Georgia's really known for its onions and not its peaches, but the onion has so many more layers and fun stories to kind of pull apart from it. So we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, many people struggle with the concept of manifestation. Could you describe it in simple terms and help us maybe understand some misconceptions that you like to debunk?
Yeah, so we're all manifesting, whether we realize it or not. And it's really just about being more intentional with what you're creating in your life. And I love to kind of go back to the very beginning and say that your imagination is how you tap into your intuition. So when you have a crazy idea for something that you want, a lot of people just kind of discount it at first. Like, oh, that would be so cool if I could do this, but no, I could never do that. I don't have enough experience, time, money, connections. I'm too old, whatever those excuses are. And so they don't even believe that it's possible. And the way that I know the universe, it is through your imagination that you tune in. So if you've ever done work with your intuition or psychic classes and play with this, you use your imagination. And so when we have ideas, it's not just you having this idea, you're actually receiving the dream from the universe. And if, as crazy as that sounds, if you can trust it and be like, oh my gosh, I want to open a restaurant. And that's not just this crazy idea, but what if I am going to open a restaurant? What if I'm intuiting that? Then if I actually play with that, then I take action from a place of expectation. I'm actually less attached to the outcome. It actually has the opposite effect than most people think, right? Because if I trust it's all working out, I don't need to be attached to one particular avenue, right? I make an offer, I don't get accepted. Great, there's something even better, and so we can play like that and know that our dreams are still happening no matter what, because it is through our imagination that we're tuning in. So I just want to say, whatever big dream you have, it's there for a reason. And most people are manifesting. We're all great at it, but we're not great at receiving. And we close off to the dream that wants to come in, whether it's the first time we have the idea, or for most people, it's somewhere along the way, right? We start to take action, but then an obstacle shows up or whatever, and then we tend to use that as an excuse to stay in our comfort zone. And so we give up on our dreams. And I love to talk about intention setting is planting a seed in a garden, right? If we have a beautiful vegetable garden and we plant seeds for the dreams that we want to manifest, at first, all that you see is dirt, because the seeds first grow roots down in the soil, right? To have a solid foundation. And so there's so much happening beneath the surface that you can't see. And so it's really trusting that things are happening even when you don't see the evidence of it first. And then when those sprouts shoot up, it's not being mad that you only got sprouts and you were expecting a giant tree. It's like, no, I'm so grateful for the sprout, because the sprout is the tree, right? And if we continue to nurture it, it's going to grow and into our, most wild dreams. And I'm going to say one more thing. There are other people who are meant to play their part in your dream, because it's their dream too. Even how you and I met, Edie, right? It's like, we had this big dream to open this space. We got connected through a mutual friend to you, right? And your big dream is to help other people create their spaces, right? And so you have people who are meant to play their part. You don't need to know everything, right? Other people are experts in their part and can help you with your vision. And you're both helping each other live out their dreams and the universe's dream, because your dream is the universe's dream. Like, it wants to emerge. So it's really about saying yes.
I love that, because you mentioned a couple of things that I appreciate. One is play. I feel like kids do a great job of this because there's no boundaries stopping their thoughts and ideas and creativity, and adults need to be better about having and giving themselves space to play. But then going back to the garden and the forest, it's so fascinating that, as much as the trees are next to each other, we feel like they're not talking, but they are, and they're communicating underground, like mushrooms and rhizomes and all of that. And so we look at them as individual units, but they're all connected. We are all connected. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Love that you said that. Yes. I always talk about Fantastic Fungi, the documentary on Netflix, if you haven't seen it, because that invisible network of mycelium in the forest ground, that's all the trees talk to each other that way, is the same as the universal field that we're all a part of, the quantum field that we can't see. And just how we're connected from different places on this podcast right now, we can't see how the Wi-Fi is connecting us, but we're magically connected on video, which is crazy to think, right? And we're connected to the universe. We're connected to each other all the time. It's like the synchronicities that bring the right people to you at the right time. They're really there for a reason. So yes.
I agree with you more. Well, that's a beautiful segue, because here we are talking about farms and schools and learning. So you have said that you emphasize manifestation to make a positive impact on the world. So can you share an example? And a little birdie may have told me about some kind of a school in Africa.
Yeah. So, gosh, there's so many ways. I think we all can make an impact in whatever way, we can. And I just want to say this, just by you living out your dream, you are making an impact, because if you're happy and fulfilled and you're walking around happy and fulfilled, you're sending out a different vibration than someone who is dissatisfied and angry and resentful and victim, So I don't want you to think like you have to start a school in Africa, like it's all good. Like you can make a difference just in your local community. But
totally agree.
My husband's Nigerian, so he has a property in Lagos, and so we have a school, an elementary school there in Ikeja, which is a part of Lagos where he grew up. So yeah, I mean, but there's so much, right? Like everyone can do. And again, it's just whatever way you are feeling called to make a difference is definitely enough.
Absolutely. Well, I'm super curious. Again, you have 2 kids, and then I'm curious, your husband is a musician. How are you fostering creativity and openness in the 2 of them? And given the, wide range of age that they have, and it's fascinating to me, they're born on the same day. I don't know how you made that happen, or the world wanted to make that happen, but hopefully your daughter appreciates that your son has been able to share that experience with her.
Oh, yeah. She always wanted to have a sibling. And so I feel like it was like her birthday present, So, and now they get to be twins, which is so fun. But I think fostering creativity for them, it's so natural because we're both creatives. And my background was as a visual artist. I went to art school at NYU, so I was very used to this idea of like seeing something in my head and then actually creating it. Right. And so I think for a lot of people who don't consider themselves artists, we're all artists, right? So it's a difficult concept, but, we're all creating. And for them, because we come from, both of us are entrepreneurs creating our lives, they're growing up seeing us do all these things, write a book, create a board game. Dad's like, we're going to the Grammys, like, it's like, okay, like daddy's on stage, like let's play some music. He's playing piano at home and, we're going to sing and dance and drum and, be silly. And we've got an art room at home. And, so we're just like, I think our family is kind of, we like to do nice things, but we don't really care about things getting messed up or clothes. We're like, great, let's, get dirty and messy and make these projects. And I think with our daughter too, she's older, she's 12, that we always kind of stayed with possibility. We weren't like saying, no, you couldn't do that because, right? If she wanted to do something that was outrageous when she was younger, like I want to be on a boat, and be a pirate, like maybe you could, like let's, so we were just kind of open into possibilities. And I think that's a fun little exercise with your kids, is just to play with what could be possible. Instead of, no, you couldn't be a pirate,
Well, I know in certain instances, I have 2 boys, right? You have to say no to certain things, but
right.
I like kind of pivoting it in a way where it maybe redirects them or gives them 2 options rather than just one. So there's ways to play with that.
Right. It's not like you can eat candy all day long, but like, ideas for things that they want to do or create, right? In that instance, it's like, well, yeah, maybe she's going to play a pirate on TV later in life.
Perhaps. So I'm super curious. I know you do a great job of traveling. How have you used that in a way to inspire your kids or educate them about, all the other things that are out there in the universe beyond just, New York or Atlanta?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, I think travel is the best way to learn about the world and be inspired. And I'm grateful that both our kids were born in New York, and our daughter was, raised there for most of her childhood, because she only, in New York, there's such a mix of cultures to begin with, but she's been to Europe and to Africa, to all over many different times, and to Asia many times, to China and Bali with me when I led retreats. And so I think and Mexico, she's kind of, all over, right, the map. And I think the best thing about that is that she's so understanding about differences, and, we're all the same. There's not looking at any, body. She's mixed race, right, already, and a mix of different, cultures of Jewish mom, Nigerian dad, whose family is like into the Orishas, and, like it's very different. And so, finding her own identity and feeling secure in that, and seeing other people like going to, Balinese ritual, or, whatever. And it feels just like, oh, right, we all have these different beliefs. No one is right or wrong. They're all beautiful, right? And we're all really speaking about the same thing, in the end. So I think she totally gets that, and I'm proud to know that, Sometimes the kids are like, oh, they don't want to hear, you preach to them, but by traveling, they kind of get it on their own, So it's awesome to see.
I find that it was really interesting. So my son went downstairs the other day with some of my partners to grab lunch, and they came back, and my partner said, Edie, I think, what you said to Noah is kind of growing on him. But when I initially told him something, because he loves baking, and so I said, Noah, let's, go figure out if there's someone that could work with us and sell our cakes or whatnot. Maybe we should make a cake for them so they could truly try what it is you have to offer. And so that way you're going with something sweet, you're having the conversation. And so I had kind of started to brand, his company. And he gave me kind of like a little bit of pushback, but then when he told others, it sounded like he totally owned it. It was his, he was running with it. So it's fun to make sure that you hear from, other adults that are around you, some feedback from the kids, because initially I think I would tell my dad all the time, Dad, stop lecturing me. I don't want to hear it. But I think at certain times of our kids' lives, they are more receptive to being around what we're doing and how we're acting versus what we're saying. And so it was fascinating that kind of sunk in. Yes. And it didn't appear to me that it was something that he received well. So I was happy for that feedback.
I love it. Yeah. I noticed my daughter was telling a friend, she listened in to, my coaching calls during COVID in our small space in New York. And she was telling a friend, my mom tells this story all the time to her clients about her friend who had a near-death experience and, clinically died and came back to life. And I'm not afraid of death, because I know like we're okay. And, I believe in past lives. And I was just like, oh my God, that is so cool. Like that she was paying attention and like told her friend this story that I didn't even know she was listening to. And so that, I was like, oh, that's so great. I love that she's like, I'm not afraid, and it was so cool to hear. So you don't realize when they're paying attention. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm curious, I know obviously you do coaching, you've got classes that you teach, and coincidentally, you and I were both at the same, VRBO or Airbnb in Bali at different times. So the world is very synchronous.
Yes, I know. It was like another synchronicity. I was like, wait, you were at that villa? Oh my God, because it's not like a known one, and it was so cool, of course, you found that villa and so did I.
Yes. So with that, walk us through, I guess, kind of an initial conversation with someone who is stuck and how you approach them and start that dialogue in regards to helping them open up a little bit and be receptive to all the goodness that's in the world. I have an abundance mindset, and I think that the more that I talk to people and the more they see, the more they observe, the more they're receptive, but let's just take a little bit longer.
A lot of these practices sound simple, and so people don't actually do them. And so you're like, I know, I should be grateful, right? I am grateful, but are you practicing gratitude? You don't have to have this gratitude practice for the rest of your life. Like you and I are probably naturally grateful and optimistic, right? So I'm not writing down my gratitude every day, but I teach that. Why? Because if you do it for a certain amount of time, you're reprogramming your brain, right? And it's proven in neuroscience, our brain, if we think of it as like Swiss cheese and there's holes in it, if you start to do a new practice, you build a bridge or a new neural pathway over that hole. And then if you do it again, your brain naturally takes the bridge and then it goes over and over that bridge so that it's a solid foundation. And so with the practice of gratitude, when you are grateful for what you already have, what it does is you look for things to be grateful for. So how many of us, right, have ever test driven a car, right? Like, do you test drive a Tesla or something? And then all of a sudden you see Teslas everywhere on the road. The Teslas were already on the road, but you're now paying attention. You're looking for them subconsciously because you just test drove one. So it's that same kind of example of like, when we look for the good, we're going to find the good. If we look for the bad, we're going to find the bad, right? We have complainers in our lives, right? And they're always complaining, right? So it's like just switching that mindset so that gratitude is the perfect, easy, simple practice that everyone can do and commit to that will make a huge difference. And it's not just, I'm grateful for the roof over my head. Like, get specific, right? And I do think writing down allows you to remember more than if you're just thinking about it. It's not just like 3 things I'm grateful for. You can write a page in your journal, right? Oh, right, that synchronicity of this and so called, and I was thinking of them, and and I ran into so-and-so. And I love to add things too that it's a simple thing to add to your gratitude practice, but it's, what am I proud of? Because so often we don't think we're worthy of going for whatever the thing is that we want. And the way to build that up is being proud of yourself. And being proud is not based on results. You're proud of how you showed up. You're proud that you made that phone call or, pitched your business or whatever it is, submitted that application or took a nap. Like, it doesn't have to be a productive proud, right? Like, I'm proud that I listened to my body, or whatever. But when we're proud of ourselves, we're like, yes, we're feeling good about ourselves. And that's being in alignment. So if you're feeling stuck, you're out of alignment some way. And for a lot of us, we know what we should be doing, that inner voice, that intuition, but we're not doing it. So it's like, just do the things that you should be doing, not because other people told you, but that you feel like you want to do. And then you're back in alignment, right? And we can put out a vibration. We're all putting out signals, right? We're all kind of energy towers walking around, giving off vibration and receiving vibration all the time. And you can put out a signal first to magnetically attract that signal. You don't have to just wait for something to show up. So it's like, if I want to attract good things, what can I do to make myself feel good today? It's as simple as that. Like, okay, I'm going to work out. I'm going to go to yoga, or I'm going to take a walk outside, or I'm going to put on some music and dance and sing out loud. Like, it's super simple, but how can you get yourself in a good feeling place so that when you go out into the world, you're not coming from this needy or, energy, angry place. And then that's felt. And then other people want to be around you, and they want to help you and join forces because it feels good to be around you. Right? So those are super simple, but really it's applying them, and it makes a huge difference.
Sure. So that brings me to a great next question. What do you do to recharge?
Oh, well, lately I've been loving going to hot yoga.
Great.
So I'll do a little plug.
Is that just outside? Because Atlanta is hot. Or are you actually going to
I've been
Okay.
going to a practice in a room. I mean, I'm actually certified to teach, and I, lived in India at an ashram for, years ago. But I've been going, and it just feels so nice to sweat and, just be drenched and be proud of myself after, right? That feeling is so nice. I also love riding my bike, and we started going on the Silver Comet Trail, which is super fun. And our 3-year-old is learning how to ride his bike, so he comes, and it's so fun. So that's another one of my favorite things to recharge.
Yeah, the nature, and thankfully the trail is mostly flat.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say one more tip for if you're feeling stuck. Oftentimes when we have this long to-do list of priorities for the day, I love to tell people to switch it from I have to I get to. It's the same exact thing on your list, right? It's like, I have to drive my kids to school or to camp or whatever. I get to drive my kids to school, right? We find the good in the situation when you say I get to, because it's a choice. Ultimately, whatever you're doing, whether it's a parent or your job, or you chose that, and you can choose again. You're not a victim. In quantum physics, we live in a participatory universe. So you're a participant. You can change the outcome of everything. And so when you say I get to, you're not in a victim mode, and you're finding the good. You're finding, I get to go to work because I get to make money, or I get to, see my favorite person there, or make this difference in this way. And so another simple shift that really does change your vibration, and it changes your results.
So I think that's, not necessarily about manifestation, but I'm super curious to hear your thoughts. So a lot of people are still working from home and are fighting kind of going back to the office 5 days a week. Some are back 3 days a week. I am of the opinion that people need people. And while it's amazing that we have the technology to Zoom, phone call, text, there is, as we've been kind of alluding to, this unspoken magic that happens when we are together. Even if it's something as simple as, I have a teenage son, and sometimes I think, again, he doesn't want to hear from me, but the fact that we're just sitting there, I say, hey, what do you want to listen to? Put your favorite music on. And we're just enjoying each other's presence is something that I've had to teach myself, but I am still working on it. But I think that that's really all that he needs at the moment from me. So what are your thoughts on, the continuous evolution of work environment and how you see that coming into continuous evolution?
Yeah. So I think, like you said, people are craving connection more than ever. I love that we can work, from home and wherever. I work from home. And I love bringing people together because in real time, people do crave community. I lead retreats, right? I love, the restaurants that bring people together, and how you are now bringing people together with different events that you're doing. And there's just a spark that happens when you're in the room and you can, meet people and find out those synchronicities that we wouldn't have known had we not been together and, sharing a story like that. So there is a magic that I think happens. And I think whether it's the work environment or just opportunities through work to bring your team together for connection, on team retreats or, through different events, it is so important, and it really makes such a huge, huge difference. So yes, I even lead team workshops, for different companies. So it's so fun. So I think that this hybrid is going to stay. I don't think people are going back to the office, but I think it's like a mix of the two, making sure that, you've got that in-person time. And then it's boundary setting, which is good for everything in life at home, right? And being okay with setting boundaries. And I think that's also a limiting belief that people have, or an obstacle of feeling bad about setting a boundary, but it's actually doing a disservice by not setting the boundary, right? So it's actually a good thing. It's you setting the boundary is helpful for the other person as well, right? And there's something that they're going to learn from that boundary. And so it's not selfish, it's self-full, right? And yeah, what do I need? What's going to be good for me, and being okay with that,
I feel like I'd like to see Jen Mazur's dictionary. Selfish, self-full. I love it. Yes. So where can our listeners get more information about you and your work?
They can go to queenofmanifestation.com, and I've got a bunch of free resources about living a life of pure magic and some guided visualizations. They can find my book, Manifesting Made Easy, at any bookstore, or on Amazon, and lots on my website, and more about my programs, and so many goodies there. So that's a good place to start.
Well, a big thank you to our guest today, Jen Mazur. Thank you so much for your valuable insights about her love for words that nourish our soul and the inspiration behind her craft. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep savoring the flavors of success. Stay hungry for more stories from leaders and innovators in the creative world.
My name is Jen Mazur, and you're listening to Hustle and Heart.